Hello everybody, my name's John and welcome to the Church Candle Challenge. Some time ago I was in church at St Peter's Presbytery and our wonderful vicar Patrick Angier mentioned that there was a considerable amount of candle wax left over from candles used in church. I did some research and found that throughout the world millions of used candles and their containers end up in landfill sites, and it takes years, sometimes decades, for them to break down. Well, a light went on in here which was remarkable in itself because not a great deal of creative activity usually happens between my ears. And it occurred to me that if we could use this wax and potentially the containers, not only would we be upcycling and helping the environment, but we could also save the church some money. I started to collect the candles in church, and here are a few examples. We've got tea lights, processional candles, those used in chandeliers, candelabras, candlesticks, altar and Advent candles. The really big one here is a Paschal candle. There were a couple of these that were broken in transit. One was broken in half and this one is split lengthwise, meaning they couldn't be used. But as you can see, there's a huge amount of wax here and it would be awful to put it into landfill. I'm not a person who's ever been involved in crafts and had never made candles before, but I bought some candle moulds, melted some of the wax and made small pillar candles. I think the first one took 10 minutes to make and 40 minutes to clean the spilled wax off the hob, worktop and floor. This was due to forgetting to put the bung into the hole in the bottom of the mould and walking through the house. But hey, they say you learn from your mistakes. After that, I persevered and had some success. I showed these to Patrick, who suggested that I make votive candles, which I thought sounded like a brilliant idea. The slight problem was I hadn't a clue what a votive looked like. Please don't tell Patrick I told you that. Anyway, for those of you like me, votives are candles that are housed in a small container like this one. In our church, they burn during the daytime every day, and they're used with the aid of a processional candle to light tea lights by people saying a prayer for others. The great thing about these candles is that they are incredibly easy to make, and I've been doing so now for several months. Here's a tray of 24 votives, and in this batch I made 48. One of these candles lasts for 2 days, so if my mathematics is correct, the batch will last for 96 days. I timed how long this took, which was 2¼ hours. I then had another thought, and it occurred to me that as our church was now saving money, if we could roll the initiative out throughout the country, a significant amount of upcycling would occur and be great for the environment. Also, a substantial amount of money would be saved. There are something like 40,000 churches in the UK and several thousand in Ireland. And if half of these became involved and each one saved a small amount, say £150 per year, collectively this would equate to £3 million per year simply by upcycling readily available wax and making votives. This is where you come in. The challenge is that a person or persons in each church be prepared to give up a little time to do what I'm doing. As far as how much of your time will be taken up to make enough votives to last for a year, it would be about 1.5 days per year. Cost-wise, after setting up some equipment, all that's required is the use of a heat source and a few items such as wicks, wick tabs and wick tab stickers that cost pennies per candle. For those of you who don't wish to make candles, or if you don't use votives in your church, there are many other ways in which you can become involved. As an example, I've got a candle here from my home that's tunnelled. In the past, I'd cut off the top part, throw it away, and then continue to use the rest of the candle. This is a perfect example of the wax that with your help can be collected, donated and made into different types of candles to be used in churches or sold to raise further funds. Making candles to sell at village fairs is also an option and another opportunity to make even more money. As for containers, something like 35,000 tonnes of them end up in landfill each year in the UK alone. Containers with small amounts of wax in them, like these, are considered as being contaminated and not fit to recycle unless they're cleaned out again. With your help, these can be reused or at least cleaned in order that they can be recycled. Upcycled candles made to be given as gifts at weddings are something else we're doing at St. Peter's, and they're proving to be really popular. This is the brainchild of one of our parishioners, Joanne Chambers. They're made from candles previously used in church. They have a picture of the church on the front and some words from Corinthians on the back. It's a variation of this candle that shortly will be on sale. You may be wondering where all of the wax will come from because we may run out of supplies from churches. But not only is our congregation donating their old candles, we now have several restaurants in the area also donating their leftover wax. Here are some examples of those. The community is therefore connecting with the enterprise and the church. This is also Joanne's work. She often frequents local restaurants under the guise of supporting them, but she's really just after their wax. She doesn't want to eat out so much, but she's happy to take one for the team. When you think about it, the structure to make this a huge success is already in place. We have the materials, the wax and containers that are free. We have the personnel, yourselves in congregations, and we've got the outlets to sell the candles in the future for churches. What makes this special and a unique venture is that there are so many benefits. These include helping the environment, bearing in mind upcycling wax takes considerably less energy than making candles from scratch, helping wildlife that's under threat due to deforestation and agricultural cultivation of the oil palm tree and soybean plant, which are used for candle making, reducing waste by reducing containers to create new candles that would normally end up in landfill, and recycling those containers unfit for reuse, helping the church to save money, helping the church to make money, helping to achieve the goal of the church to become more eco-friendly, connecting the church with the local community in a very practical way, helping to spread the word and interacting with local churches. Upcycling candles is a wonderful hobby, especially as they're being made for churches that were previously illuminated by them. It's creative, productive and therapeutic, which makes it beneficial to mental health. Whereas each church has its own specific financial needs, I'd like to think that in time the Church Candle Challenge charity will be set up and donations from the money raised will be given to help others. Because of our unique structure with no administration costs, zero overheads and minimal outgoings, the goal will be that every penny raised reaches the people who need it. How wonderful to help that disabled child who desperately needs support, to provide a guide dog for a person who is going blind, or supply fresh water to African villages. Together we can do all of these, and the only thing you need to donate is a little bit of your time. A small effort will have a massive impact. In the following videos, I'll show you everything you need and how to make votive candles. I'll also touch on the mistakes I've made, on purpose, of course, in order that you don't make the same ones. Please become involved. We all know the candle symbolises Jesus as being the light of the world, and this is a wonderful opportunity for us all to play our part in lighting up the world.